Hello, hello! Welcome to the final Dr. Sleep discussion. So the Paper Time Book Club, we read our first novel. We just finished it this week, Stephen King's Dr. Sleep, and we're done. Look at us. Look at us. Who would have thought that we'd be here? Not me. Nope. I wouldn't have thought that we would have been here. So we finished the book. This week we read chapters 19 through the epilogue, finishing it all off, and I really wasn't excited to read this book. I was actually quite terrified, but it wasn't as scary as I thought. Honestly, it was disturbing, but it wasn't as scary as I thought. The Shining is definitely scarier. I also have a friend reading it right now, and the things he's telling me about this book, like, what is wrong with Stephen King? I don't know. I'm really glad that I've read Stephen King at his best. Hi, Vonnie. Hi, Sarah. Thanks for joining. I'm so glad that I'm reading Stephen King at his best. I'm so glad I read The Shining. I'm glad that I've read Dr. Sleep, but I don't think I'm going to go exploring his other novels. So our final discussion, kind of sad, but let's get into it. So chapter 19 was Ghosty People. I'm not going to lie, I really had no idea how Billy and Dan and Abra's plan was going to go, but I definitely didn't see it going the way it ended. So if you haven't read the book, like, get out now, because we're going to have some spoilers, but Dan takes the Overlook ghosts that follow him in his life and lock them into a box in his head, and he uses those ghosts against the True Knot to destroy them. And I thought that was so brilliant. I just thought it was a cool trick, like, oh, look at Dan using his shine, locking up little ghosties. Good for him, like, he'll be able to survive his life. But using that against the True Knot and killing them and kind of using them to his advantage was absolutely brilliant to me. In chapter 20, we see kind of the fall of Rose. Rose gets into Dan's head, and that's something that he couldn't quite handle. He was able to fight her off, but we see Horace DeWent, who was the ghosty with the party glass, like, cool party, huh? I'm about to steal your soul. He kills Sari in the little shed so that she doesn't have an opportunity to kill Dan, which was the original plan. And that kind of gives Dan the opportunity to get Rose out of his head, giving Billy the opportunity to run over Rose. So that's what truly weakens Rose, is that she doesn't have the ability to control Dan in his head, and Billy severely weakens her by running her over. So whenever it finally came down to it, Abra was astral projecting into the situation to help Dan kill Rose, but she has to leave, take a break, take a breather, gain her strength back. This is whenever we see Rose control Dan to choke himself, and Abra's not there to help. Billy's left the situation, and Rose feels a gust of wind that distracts her. We don't know where this wind came from. I thought it was probably like Abra or Momo's spirit hanging around. We really didn't know what that was, but it distracted her just enough to give Dan a leg up and start pushing her over the edge of the railing for the roof of the world. So this chapter ends with Abra and Dan pushing Rose over. She dies. She's done. And Dan burns Rose's hat. So I thought that was super interesting, that at the end, the hat still had that, like, voodoo-y, like, lingering of a shine to it. So I really think that maybe the hat was some evil person's thing, and maybe that influenced Rose to be super evil as well. Like, maybe once she got the hat, like, I would love a backstory on that, but that's just speculation. So whenever Billy goes to call the police, Dan looks at the roof of the world and sees his father waving at him. So they both blow a kiss. Jack disappears, and I think that just really symbolizes that Jack Torrance found peace. You know, he went crazy in the hotel. He was very susceptible to it. We get it. But he was lingering there. He helped Dan with that gust of wind to kill Rose. And I thought that just was really great closure, not just for Jack Torrance, but for Dan Torrance as well. I think that they both really found peace with their whole Overlook hotel situation. So I think that really tied it up very nicely with a bow for them. That brought us to the epilogue. So Dan is celebrating years upon years of sobriety, and he finally tells his little AA group about taking money from Deanie and her child, which is the weight that Dan's been carrying around this whole time. And they had zero reaction. I mean, obviously, either they have done worse or they've heard worse, but the things that we carry around can be so much more substantial to us than it is to other people, and it's better just to get it on out there. And then we see Abra exhibit some of the same anger issues that Dan has, same anger issues that Jack Torrance has, just generational anger that is appearing in her, kind of just foreshadowing that her life isn't going to be as easy as she expects it to be. And we end the novel with Frank the orderly, the one who bruised Charlie in the very beginning, making Dan so angry. He got hit by a car, and he is dying at the Rivington hospice. And who better to help him end his life than Dr. Sleep? So Dan had said that life is a wheel. It always turns back around. And I really think that symbolizes the novel as a whole. You know, the Overlook Hotel and the way he found closure in the end, him and his father, that's a wheel. Rose stealing souls, and then the evil soul stealing hers, that's a wheel. And Frank making fun of Dr. Sleep, but then he's the one to bring him to peace, total wheel. So I think that all of this ended very nicely and so satisfying, which so did The Shining. I think The Shining had a brilliant end. I still stand by that. It was just so much better than the book. I don't want to ruin it for you. I had to stop talking. I have to remember that I can't give away spoilers for people. So if you've seen the movie, just know that the book ended so much better. Speaking of movies, I actually got to go see Dr. Sleep on Wednesday the 30th, so our early screening. It does come out this Friday, November 8th. And I thought it was at one theater, and I'm having dinner, just enjoying my evening, get to the movie about 15 minutes early, and I realized it's at a theater on the other side of the city. So I had to drive, take a toll road to get there as quick as I could. It was a stressful situation, but we got there in time. We got to see it beginning to end. I was so worried that we were going to miss the beginning, but we made it. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. I really, really did. I think it stayed very true to the book. The ending was different, but I'm not going to give away any spoilers there. I will say, though, that Bradley Trevor's death was a lot more graphic than what I expected. I was really, really hoping that they would do a cutaway or something. But if torture bothers you, or if child torture especially, which I hope that bothers everyone, it was really hard to watch. And I have 2 children, so of course you just see this tiny child and you just envision your own kids. Like, I'm going to start tearing up just thinking about it. It was a rough scene. So if that's something that bothers you, I might steer clear until it comes out on DVD or something. So that brings us to the end of Dr. Sleep. I hope you enjoyed reading it as much as I did. I had a lot of fun with it. Again, it wasn't as spooky as I expected, so that was good. And this whole book club has been so much fun. It's going to be so weird to go back to scheduled programming of reviews and book news, but our next book club will be in January of 2020. It will be a happy book because I've had lots of other people who didn't join in on this book club ask to read something happy and not spooky. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. But we will read a new book for the new year. So I'll pick a new release coming out in January. I might pick a few and do a little vote on what book we want to read. And this Friday, you can expect a Dr. Sleep book review and a Dr. Sleep movie review, since the movie comes out on Friday. So I'll split it into halves. I'll do the book review first and then have a cut for the movie review. So if you want to wait to read that part until after you've seen the movie, I'll tell you when to hop off the page. But thank you so much for joining. It's so weird with it being the end, but I hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you on the next book club. Bye.